Hi everyone, welcome to episode 33 of Sketch Support. This month there is a new free 2-page sketch that you can download at Scrapbook Generation, and I will link to that down below in the video description. And in this video, I'm going to go through a detailed look at 3 layouts that I created all based on that one 2-page sketch. The purpose of Sketch Support is to show the versatility of sketches and how you can adapt and customize them to better fit your needs. A common misconception with sketches is that you have to follow them exactly, but that's not the case. It's totally up to you how much or how little of the sketch you use. There's also a 3-page PDF available that has 22 more sketch options showing several ways you can alter the sketch to fit your needs. And if you enjoy using sketches, I've also got a few classes that are going on right now that you can still join in on. The first is called Sketches 2024. I have teamed up with Scrapbooking Cards Today magazine, and we are hosting a year-long class that focuses on sketches. It's very similar to this Sketch Support series. Each month we have a new sketch, and I share several ways you can adapt and customize it, along with 3 layouts that I've created based on that sketch. There's also a lesson, challenges, process videos, live videos, and giveaways. There's also a Facebook group with galleries so we can all connect and view what everyone creates with these sketches. We are almost halfway through the year, but you can join at any time and get access to all of that content. The second class I have going on is one I just started a few weeks ago. This one is based on a specific design concept and the many ways you can create with this concept. One of the key methods I like to use for layout design is focusing on a simple design concept that can be used over and over, and adapting and customizing those concepts to different themes, ideas, and supplies. The first class of this series is focused on wreath designs. Wreath designs have had such a strong presence in the scrapbooking world for quite some time, and with good reason. They are absolutely stunning and so very much fun to create. This class takes a deep dive into wreath designs and the endless ways you can create with them. There is a 3-part video, a 52-page PDF, and then there are 23 sketches, 12 1-page and 11 2-page. And there's also access to a private Facebook group with galleries for each sketch. We are also going to start some challenges and giveaways in this group starting on May 1st. And I'll link to both of those classes in the video description. And I've also got 5 new sketch sets coming out for International Scrapbook Day, so keep an eye out for those as well. So let's get this video started with a look at the sketch that I've used as the starting point for each layout in this video. This month, the sketch was a request that I got in the comments from my last Sketch Support video. They wanted a sketch with an 8x10-inch photo, and the second I saw that comment, I started designing this one. There is an 8x10-inch photo on the right page, and then the rest of the layout design is made up of 2x2-inch squares and photos, and some larger 4x4-inch photos, and this one 3.5x3.5-inch photo with a 4x4-inch photo mat. And I think the fun part about this sketch is how easy you can adapt it to use more or less photos by removing or adding more or less of the 2x2-inch squares. Now, if you don't have an 8x10-inch photo to work with, you can also replace it with 4 4x5-inch photos, and you'll be covering the same space as that larger photo, so you don't have to adjust or adapt anything else. You can also use 4 4x6-inch photos if you don't want to crop anything down. I really had a lot of fun creating with this sketch, and I think you will too. I kept thinking how this sketch could be so perfect for a school layout or album. You could use the school portrait as the 8 by 10 inch photo and then fill in the rest of the layout with photos throughout the school year. It would be a fun peek at each school year. Another thing I enjoyed about this sketch is that each square can be an opportunity to add a fun and different element. Kind of like each square is a mini layout that you can decorate and embellish. And if you need any help with visualizing different ideas with this sketch, you should definitely check out the PDF of bonus sketch options. When I first started planning layouts for the sketch, I instantly thought of these really cool dolphin photos I lucked into getting during a dolphin cruise in Destin, Florida. Our whole family went to Destin for Christmas, and since it was the first time for most of the family to visit that area, I knew they would love the dolphin cruises. And when we woke up that day, it was rainy and cold, and I was so bummed because I thought it would get canceled. But the captain was like, "Hey, I'm in if you guys are good with it." And surprisingly, everybody was on board to do it. So we ventured out on this boat in rain and cold and had an absolute blast. There were maybe 2 other groups of people, so we practically had the boat to ourselves. And as we were heading out to the Gulf, much to our surprise, dolphins started jumping and playing in the wakes behind the boat, which is right where we were standing. And we ended up getting so many amazing photos, and I knew that an 8 by 10 inch photo would be a really great opportunity to showcase one of those photos. So I followed the sketch quite closely, with the exception of flipping it so that that 8 by 10 inch photo is on the left page, which had everything to do with my photos and the direction the dolphins were jumping. I didn't want that 8 by 10 inch photo jumping towards the edge of the layout. And this is always the most common reason I will flip a sketch. It's just an easy solution to the issue of a subject facing off the layout. And the reason I don't like my subject to face off the layout is that it can often pull the attention of the viewer off the layout. I think it's just more visually appealing when everything is facing inward to the center of the layout. And I know I already mentioned it, but one of the things I really enjoy about square grid style designs like this is that each square is the opportunity for something different. And I really had a lot of fun with this part. For some of the squares, I added a dolphin die cut in the center, and I cut these in 2 different colors for interest. On 3 of the squares, I added wave strips and stitched along the edges to really make that wave design stand out. And then I added a dolphin tail die cut, also with hand stitching. And this was my favorite part to create on this layout. The rest of the layout features stickers and die cuts that fit the theme, and then there are several journaling squares. Another special detail I added was around 3 of the 4 by 4 inch photos. I actually used 3.5 inch photos instead and added a small colored mat, and then added a chain link stitch border in white. Anytime I see a chain link stitch, it looks like rope to me, so that felt like a good detail for a layout about being on a boat. With this layout, I made a lot of changes to adapt to different photo sizes. I had a mix of 2.5 by 2.5, 3 by 3 inch, and then 1 4 by 6 inch photo. So I made some adaptations to work with those sizes. Since I didn't have an 8 by 10 inch photo, I decided to use a large background piece instead. And then I added a large die cut title piece to fill in that space. And this is an easy solution to not having a large photo or enough photos to fill that space. There are so many fun large cut file designs. I'm thinking like of especially Paige Evans cut files that would work really well with this design. Since most of my photos were already smaller, I couldn't really crop them down any smaller than that. So I adapted the photos in squares to fit the size I had. This sketch design is very easy to adapt to different sizes of squares. You could use a variety of square sizes to adapt it to your needs. For mine, I used a mix of 3 by 3 inch photos and squares with some 2 3/4 inch and 2.5 inch photos mixed in. And with those smaller photos, that gave me the opportunity to work in some pattern paper mats so that I could extend this color combo throughout the whole layout. For 3 of the squares, I used the same star print pattern paper, and then I added a large star on top. And each of those stars has a different word cut out of it, so I backed them with different colors. And then I also added a stitched border on them to coordinate with that color. And then the last thing I changed was adding a stripe strip along the top and bottom edges. I love the colors of this collection, and that stripe felt like the perfect way to tie all of those colors of the collection together. The last layout is always about showing how you can adapt the sketch to work for a different size of layout. I always say never let the size of the sketch determine the size of your layout. There are always ways you can adapt or shrink a 2-page sketch design to work as a 1-page layout. I focused on that grid design of the sketch and adapted it to my 1-page layout. And I don't think I will ever get tired of square grid style designs. It's such a classic design that can be adapted to so many different styles and themes. Plus, it's easy to do, so that's always a big win in my book. So I created a 9 square grid made up of triangles. So I cut 9 3 by 3 inch squares and then cut them in half diagonally. Then to arrange them on my layout, I mixed them up so each square has 2 different patterns and colors. This was a fun way to do something a little different with those squares on the sketch. I had 3 2.5 by 2.5 inch photos, and I added a small white mat to each one and placed them on 3 of the squares. On the sketch, the title is on that 8 by 10 inch photo, but since I didn't use one for this layout, I had to find a new home for my title. To create that title, I used some die cut words and then layered a chipboard banner piece on top. For 3 of the squares, I heavily embellished them with stars, planets, and rockets. It was fun to create these little super detailed clusters on those squares. And then on the remaining 2 squares, I added my journaling and some word and phrase stickers. And that's it for this episode of Sketch Support. If you ever have a request for a specific sketch design, be sure to let me know in the comments. I always love creating special requests. And don't forget about those new classes and upcoming sketches for International Scrapbook Day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.